Giovanni. What are you doing?
You said I was okay.
But I haven't given you discharge letters.
That's why I asked to see you. I mean, I need you to sign my discharge papers.
Oh, so, where are you going?
Home, to Italy.
Well, that's fine. I'll take you to the airport. What time's your plane?
8 o'clock.
Well, you'll have a few hours to kill at the airport. I mean, you're such a paragon of self-sufficiency, I'm sure you'll find something to do to entertain yourself. Okay, shall we then? So what are we waiting for?
See, I was hoping that we could talk a little first, maybe.
Jody, who is that?
It's Eugene Simmons, the man who molested Frank.
You've yet to answer my question, Miss Walker. Do you have proof that Frank Goodman molested you?
Sit down over here.
Order.
Right there.
Mr. Lockridge, every time you set foot in this courtroom, you manage to create a disturbance.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Since my last question seems to baffle you, Miss Walker, I'll try another one. Do you have proof that Frank Goodman was himself a victim of child abuse?
You bet we do.
Did Frank Goodman ever admit to you he was sexually abused as a child?
No.
Did you ever find any physical evidence that he was abused? A letter, a diary?
No.
Then why should we believe Dr. Gates' speculation? Mr. Goodman was never anything other than the model of decorum. Come on, you think your parents would have let him repeatedly babysit for you if they thought otherwise? Where is your proof, Miss Walker?
Your Honor, the prosecution is badgering my witness. The defendant seems to be under emotional duress, on the edge of exhaustion.
And unable or unwilling to answer my questions.
We have testimony to address your question, Mr. Arnold.
Testimony? This is your last witness.
Permission to approach the bench, Your Honor.
Is the prosecution finished with this witness?
Absolutely.
Ms. Walker, you may step down. Thank you. Counsel, approach the bench.
We've located a witness, Your Honor. With your permission, I'd like to put him on the stand.
Over my dead body.
Please, I'm scared.
Why? Eugene's here now.
Yeah, but look at him. Does he look like a man who's ready to take the witness stand and bare his soul to the world?
Well, I must say, the jacket's seen better days.
Well, I've had to wait a long time.
I would have thought with the money that I provided you, you would have had something better than this.
Well, your money went towards my schooling and took care of my mother. She was sick a long time.
Yes, I'm sorry about that. I wish I'd known. Maybe I could have done something.
Well, she didn't want you to know.
Yes, I know. But I'm sorry for you that you had to go through her death alone.
Honestly, do you love me?
To be honest with you, no.
Thanks for your truthfulness.
Well, no, it takes time to love someone, and I don't know you, Giovanni.
Nor are you.
Well, can you honestly say that you love me? No, I didn't think so. I mean, that kind of love takes time. You get to know someone, even your child. I mean, I've had women who've had their pregnancies and then after had their child and had a real difficult time getting in sync with that life to develop warm, caring bonds.
Okay, it was just a question. I mean, I don't need a lesson in psychology, but it's not important.
Do you want me to love you, Giovanni? Well, that's why you're here, isn't it? Because you don't have anyone else. And with your mother passed away.
But I have God.
God?
Yes. Are you going to ridicule me for my faith now?
No, but you did something more than that to keep you warm at night and to put food in your stomach.
You don't have much faith, do you?
Yes, I have enormous faith in myself. I also have faith that you and I could become close if we were given a chance. Would you like to stay a while? Come to the house and get to know me and Aurora better.
Honestly, no. Studiate, then.
Yes, well, listen, let me take that. You just had an operation, for heaven's sake. I'll carry
Thank
it.
you, but I can just as easily call a taxi.
Well, no, I don't want you to be going and languishing at the airport for hours on end. Why don't you come to the house and have a drink with me and chat?
That's not necessary.
Well, listen, this opportunity may not arise again. This is an opportunity you and I have to get to know each other. I would like to get us to know each other just a little. And besides, I insist. After all, I'm your father.
Court is in recess for 20 minutes. Are you ready?
I just need a few minutes to confer with my witness.
You want to take him to dinner while you're at it?
Make it snappy, Counselor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Julia, do you think you can get Eugene up on the stand?
I don't know, but I'm sure going to do my best.
Well, I think our friend may need a little persuasion.
Who is that man, Ward?
That's the man who may help set you free, BJ.
What does that mean?
It means he molested Frank. His name is Eugene Simmons. The problem is he hasn't agreed to take the witness stand yet.
Well, if he's come this far, he's going to testify. We'll make sure of that.
Excuse me.
So how long do you think it'll take to convince Mason to let Eugene take the stand?
I don't know. It's hard to say. Julia's got her work cut out introducing a new witness this late in the trial.
Yeah, especially after the way Arnold jumped all over BJ, too. Mason's not going to be too happy with this little surprise.
I can't believe I let him provoke me like that. I must have sounded crazy. I'm sure the jury thinks I'm probably insane enough to have killed Frank.
No, sweetie. Your old dad can read faces pretty good. They're sympathetic to you. Arnold's the one who came off looking like a jerk.
I can't stand this. Maybe I should go talk to Eugene.
No, sweetie. Julia's doing everything she can to turn this around. I think we should just give her the time and space that she needs.
Oh, I hate this, not knowing.
Hey, don't worry. We're all here for you, BJ.
Thanks. How's Aurora?
I'm not sure. Her half-brother from Italy just dropped into their lives, so I'm not really sure how she's taking it.
Well, why don't you go find out?
I'm not going to leave you now. I can't.
Yeah, you can. It'll take Julia a while to convince Mason to let Eugene testify anyway, if she can. Go on, go see Aurora. Tell her I said hello.
Are you sure?
Yeah, go.
Go on.
Well, it'll be
I'll
fine.
call you at Micah's if anything happens.
All right. You keep the faith. Bye. See you. Thanks very much.
Wish me luck.
We're with you all the way. I'm going to talk to BJ. You stay right here.
What did he say?
Well, I think we're starting to get him on our side a little bit.
Oh, that's great.
Eugene! Wait! Wait. Where are you going?
I don't know. I don't like it in there.
I know. We're all scared, too, but BJ is terrified. That's why we have to do everything we can to help her. Please, don't let us down now.
I know it was a mistake coming here. I should have stayed home in Florida with Mom.
No. You did the right thing. I swear to you, if you testify now, it'll help you feel better yourself.
How is telling the world about what I did to Frank supposed to make me feel better?
Maybe you'll be able to right a wrong. You'll be able to undo a little of what you did to Frank all those years ago by explaining how Frank turned into the kind of man he was. You'll be helping BJ. But most of all, you'll be helping yourself. You won't have to carry this secret around by yourself anymore. It's too heavy a burden for you. Lay it down. Then maybe you can get some help.
Eugene, listen to me. You were never able to make amends with Frank when he was alive, but if you testify, some good can finally come out of this vicious cycle. I'm pleading with you. Do it. It's the right thing for everyone involved.
Why not?
Because it's irrelevant?
Like hell it is.
You berated my client up one side and down the other because she couldn't prove that Frank was molested as a child. You were the one who opened up this line of questioning in the first place by challenging BJ to prove it. Well, we now have a witness who can prove it.
All right, let's, for the sake of argument, say that I withdraw my protest. And you introduce this guy who can supposedly prove that Frank was molested as a child. What does it get you?
Ben, it supports my theory that Frank was a child molester because he was abused himself.
I'm going to need a few minutes to think about this.
I'll tell you what, Your Honor, I'll let you off the hook. You let Miss Wainwright call her witness. I want this guy on the stand, too. In fact, I can't wait.
Aurora.
Oh.
How you doing?
How's everything holding up at BJ?
It's kind of interesting. The prosecution was badgering her today, and Warren showed up with this guy who he says molested Frank as a child. So we're hoping that Julia can convince Mason to get him on the stand, because if she can turn things around for BJ.
That's great.
Yeah.
How are you holding up?
I don't know. I'm walking, talking, and eating, but I don't feel anything. Maybe I'm afraid to.
Come here. Sit down. I'm gonna give you a massage.
It feels terrific. So how you doing?
Oh, I don't know. I guess I kind of feel a little bit like you do.
Because of your brother.
Yeah. I mean, on one hand, I want to get to know him. But then on the other, I don't want to invest too much emotionally in him. You know what I mean? And it's like my dad is totally thrown by this whole thing, and he tries not to show it. But he doesn't even know how to talk to Giovanni.
Well, with the chip on his shoulder, I can't blame either one of you.
Aurora. Giovanni's going to spend a few hours with us before he catches his plane for Iran. So you remember my son, don't you?
Yeah, I remember him perfectly. I have to admit, you look better now than the last time I saw you.
Well, I feel better, too, and I would like to apologize for our misunderstanding.
Oh, I understood you perfectly.
Oh, no, come on, let's not rehash this. Giovanni has a few hours with us. Let's make this as pleasant as possible, shall we?
Of course. I'm glad I got the chance to see you again. Would you like some tea? Giovanni?
No, grazie. No, thanks. No tea.
Well, Giovanni, why don't you make yourself comfortable? Take a jacket off. It's rather warm in here. Giovanni.
Dad, he's not going to change his mind and decide to move in with us, is he?
Look at Eugene. He's as nervous as a cat.
You would be too if you were in his shoes.
Think he's going to testify?
I don't know. We gave it our best shot. The rest is up to him.
I don't know how much more of this I can take. It's the waiting around that really gets to you.
Well, just don't let DJ see how edgy you are, okay? I think she's been holding up pretty well so far.
I agree. I can't believe how stoic she's been. She certainly didn't get it from me.
Well, maybe she got it from her father.
Jury seems pretty sympathetic, don't you think?
Yeah, some of them. But you know as well as I do how hard it is to read the minds of 12 independent people.
I don't know what I'm going to do if they convict her.
Look, don't even think about that, okay? We just take it 1 hour, one day at a time.
I can't believe I didn't know what was going on.
What Frank was doing to
Yeah.
her.
I mean, I work with abuse victims every day. I know the symptoms like the back of my hand.
Well, Joe, you raised a smart little girl. She figured out how to mask those symptoms.
But why? Why would she want to hide what that monster was doing to her?
Because she loved us. And she didn't want to hurt us. Think about it, Joe. Frank was our best friend. He was BJ's godfather. And we trusted him with our most precious possessions, our children. And in her 10-year-old little mind, that was everything. As hard as it was for her, she did all that to protect us.
Still can't believe that I didn't see what she was going through.
Maybe she did it for Sawyer, too. If she kept all of Frank's attention, he wouldn't turn to her little brother.
Poor little baby.
Any luck with Eugene?
I don't know. We tried, but he's a tough customer.
Now, let me take another crack at him.
Good luck.
Well, I'm sure living with us is the last thing on Giovanni's mind. I mean, he wanted to go from the hospital to the airport, and I insisted he'd come here and spend some time with us. Giovanni, I know you're not thirsty. Could I interest you in a glass of wine?
Yes. Do you have anything Italian?
Yes, I have a bottle of Santa Maria. Is that all right?
Great. That's one of my favorites.
Oh, me too.
Would you like to sit down?
Thank you. There's a chill in the air. And, I don't just mean the temperature. I mean, my behavior towards both of you has been abysmal, and for that, I'm truly sorry.
Oh, it's okay. This must be really awkward for you.
Are you as forgiving as my sister?
No, but I'll let it pass this time.
Thank you. I always make it a habit to try and not leave people hurt or anything.
Do you really have to leave so soon?
Oh, yes. I have to get back to Italy.
Giovanni probably has a girlfriend in Italy.
Well, I do have a commitment.
Oh, you've made yourself comfortable. Good. This is a very good year. To your health.
Thank you. Thank you for everything.
I don't want to pry, but why'd you come here? I mean, you didn't come here to get your appendix out. Why'd you come to America?
This. I was going to give it to you at the airport, but I have a feeling you won't stop asking questions until you see it.
What is it?
It's my mother's diary. She made me promise her on her deathbed that I would deliver it to you in person. And I don't know what's in there, but there's something she wants you to read very badly.
Why the about-face?
Don't play naive for my sake. If you want to win the case for me, I'm more than happy to oblige.
I don't want to do a damn thing for you.
Yeah, that's what you think. You put that guy in the stand, he'll testify that he molested Frank as a child.
He did.
Fine, I hope he can convince the jury that he did it. Then you'll remind them that 85% of child abuse victims become molesters themselves.
Well, thank you, Ben.
You give me just what I need. Frank Goodman molested B.J. Walker.
If you're so willing to admit that, why are you smiling?
Because it gives me incredible motive. I'll remind the jury of what a heinous crime Frank Goodman committed. And I'll remind them that B.J. should have gone straight to the authorities, or at least to her parents, but that's not what she did. Instead, she took the law into her own hands and she killed Frank out of revenge. Thank you, counselor, for giving me my case on a silver platter.
He makes a very persuasive and valid point, Julia. You could be risking your client's chances by putting Simmons on the stand. Are you sure you want me to grant your request?
Julia's been in chambers a long time. Hope that's not a bad sign.
No, she's probably just stuck listening to that windbag Arnold give a million reasons why he doesn't want Eugene to testify.
Well, let's just hope Eugene doesn't clam up at the last minute.
He doesn't look that anxious to testify.
Would you be?
Are you sure he sexually abused Frank as a child?
Well, that's what he says.
How did you find him?
Reese and I spoke to his mother when we were in Florida. Little did we know he was in the next room listening to every word we said.
I think the guilt finally got the best of him.
Well, what's taking Julia so long?
They're back.
All rise. This court is now back in session.
What happened?
You'll see.
The defense will call its next witness.
I'd like to call Eugene Simmons to the stand, please.
Okay, Eugene. It's showtime.
Mr. Simmons, is it true that you are what would be termed a child molester?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like you to tell the court of your relationship with Frank Goodman, if you would, please.
Frank lived down the block growing up. He was special, at least I thought so. He was an only child. Sometimes he got a little lonely. And I was older. I guess he looked at me as a big brother.
In other words, he trusted you, and you took advantage of that trust.
Yes, ma'am. We'd get together and play games. Doctor, strip poker. I gave him cigarettes. You know, sort of make him feel like he was older. And I have my way with him.
Did anyone know that you sexually abused Frank?
No. That was our secret.
To the best of your knowledge, did Frank keep that secret?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons, are you aware that the fact that you sexually abused Frank as a child caused problems for him as he grew up?
Objection calls for conclusion.
Sustained.
Let me ask the question this way, Mr. Simmons. Did Frank ever tell you that your relationship with him troubled him?
Yes, ma'am. Sometimes we'd be doing it and he'd stop and say, this is wrong. I'd just keep on. Sooner or later he'd come around. I never paid no mind because sometimes he put the moves on me. Anyway, when he was older, later on, he realized that people got in trouble for what we was doing. It really bothered him.
So then in hindsight, you do admit that what you did to Frank caused him harm?
Yes, ma'am. I know I put Frank through hell. And that really tears me up inside because I...
Because of what, Mr. Simmons?
Because I loved him.
Giovanni, your mother writes here that you were always in some kind of trouble. What kind?
I ran with the wrong crowd at school, and sometimes we would scam the turistas or borrow someone's motorcycles. And, you know, it was harmless, but the police were not amused.
You've been arrested?
A few times, yes.
It says, I send the boy to you with this diary because I don't believe the path he has chosen is the correct one. Help him, Micah. He needs the love of a father. He needs your love. What path was it that she didn't think was right for you?
Why do you care? I mean, I only came to bring the diary. Here 1 minute, gone the next. So, please don't concern yourself.
Well, of course I'm concerned. Your mother felt necessary to send you to me so I could help you if I can. I mean, I feel it's a duty as a father.
Judy, that's very funny.
Listen to me. She says in here that she was concerned about the path that you had chosen, that she thought it was the wrong one. What was it you were involved in? Drugs? Organized crime? What is it?
I want to change for my trip home. Where may I do that?
Well, wait a minute. You have not answered my question.
Okay, my mother worried too much. And I assure you I'm old enough to make my own choices. Now, where might I change?
There's several empty bedrooms upstairs. Come, I'll show you.
I'll carry your bag for you.
Oh, grazie.
Mr. Simmons, I have one last question. Were you yourself abused as a child?
Yes.
By whom?
Both my mother and my father.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons.
Mr. Arnold, your witness.
Mr. Simmons, you say you were sexually abused by your parents.
Yes, sir.
How long did this abuse last?
Until I finally ran away from home.
It's my understanding that you now live with your mother.
She and my father were divorced a while back. I moved in with my mother to help with expenses.
Then I assume you two came to terms with the abuse you suffered as a child.
No, we never talk about it. We just pretend it never happened.
Was it the same with Frank Goodman?
Yes. Somewhere along the way, it just stopped. We never talked about it.
Did you want to?
I wanted Frank to know I'd always love him, but I never got the chance to tell him.
Why not?
Frank became a cop. Soon after he graduated, I saw him on patrol. I went up to congratulate him. I saw the look in his eyes. It was filled with so much hate.
Did you say that he gave you a look that could kill?
Objection. Mr. Arnold is asking for a conclusion of the witness.
Sustained.
You never let me finish. Frank told me he'd kill me if I ever come near him again.
So it's your sworn testimony that a man you once sexually abused as a child threatened to kill you years after the abuse stopped?
Yes, sir.
Interesting how history tends to repeat itself.
Objection.
Withdrawn. Had you pursued Frank, think he would have carried out his threat?
Objection. Counsel is once again asking for a conclusion of the witness.
Your Honor, the defense has repeatedly spoken about the chain of abuse that pertains to this case. Specifically, that Mr. Simmons was sexually abused by his parents, that he in turn sexually abused Frank Goodman, and that Frank Goodman, it is alleged, abused the defendant. And Mr. Simmons just testified that Frank Goodman threatened to kill him if he tried to rekindle their sexual relationship. The defendant testified that Frank Goodman did try to rekindle their sexual relationship. And unlike Mr. Simmons, Frank Goodman wouldn't take no for an answer. The witness heeded Frank Goodman's warning and is alive to testify. Frank Goodman did not heed the defendant's warning, and he is now dead. I maintain the parallel is clear. B.J. Walker shot Frank Goodman and broke this chain of abuse.
Objection, Your Honor. Mr. Arnold is using the witness to grandstand.
Objection sustained. Mr. Arnold, save your theories for your closing arguments. The jury will disregard Mr. Arnold's little speech. It will be stricken from the record.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. No further questions.
The witness may step down.
No. Your Honor, sir, there's something I want to say.
Maybe my dying will make Giovanni reconsider the path he's chosen in life and shock some sense into him. If not, my only hope is Майка.
Hi. Sorry to disturb you. I was getting another glass of wine for Giovanni. He liked it so much.
Oh, by all means. It's the least we can do for him.
Doctor, I don't mean to pry, but you seem upset. Was it something you read in the diary?
Oh, no, I just saw this bloody business. Obviously, Giovanni's mother's been having a problem with him for years. She just never called to ask me for help. Now I've got this rebellious son in my hand. I haven't got the faintest idea what I'm going to do about it.
Yeah, you sound like my dad used to sound.
Excuse me?
Oh, I don't mean any disrespect. I mean, I understand that you're upset about Giovanni. But you see, what you're going through right now is really no different than what other fathers and sons go through.
Yes, I assume you're talking from experience.
Yeah, you better believe it. I mean, my dad and I get along great now, but we had our share of troubles.
Didn't seem like a rebellious time.
Oh, I'm not. And it wasn't. It's just, well, there comes a point when a son wants to be strong like his father. Wants to have the same respect that he has. So he does things to prove himself. And then his father ends up feeling threatened. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm starting.
It's like this time, my dad and I were working on my bike, and it was the first time I ever cursed at him. And see, he asked me to take this bolt off the bike, and I wouldn't budge. So he leans over to help me out, and I'm like, no, damn it, I can do it myself. And he's kind of leaned back and laughed at me. And then he gave me hell, but you see, after that, it got really confusing because he wanted to remain my buddy. But the fact was, he was my dad, and so it made things really complicated.
Well, it's interesting.
Interesting. Well, that's not the word I would use, but, you know, my mom could have been an NFL referee after all the fights she broke up between my dad and I.
But you get along famously now.
Yeah, for the most part. And why, I don't know. I guess maybe it was from, you know, slugging it out that the two of us came to some kind of understanding.
Oh, well, I'm just looking for some way out of all of this, and I realize there isn't.
Well, you know, I really don't have any answers, but... Well, for example, the situation between you and I at first. I knew that you really didn't like me.
Oh, come on.
No, I never thought but doctor, it was because you felt threatened that I was going to take Aurora away from you.
Well, you're quite perceptive.
Well, if I'd given up and walked away, then you would have known that I wasn't worthy for Aurora. But I didn't. And then you came to respect me. Didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yes. Thanks for your insight. Not that I feel a damn bit better, but I realize my fate.
Yeah. Well, look, I better get this wine back upstairs. Aurora's probably wondering what's keeping me.
Thanks.
Anytime.
Witnesses are not allowed to make statements per se, Mr. Simmons. You are only allowed to answer questions put to you by counsel for the defense or counsel for the prosecution. Please step down.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Order.
I never knew anything about that
Okay,
chain
let's
or
show
anything
Mr.
else.
Simmons to the seat.
I didn't know Frank. What I done to Frank hurt you. I don't do it again. I promise I would. You got to believe what I'm saying.
Giovanni's upstairs changing.
It'll give me a chance to decide what to do.
What can you do? He obviously doesn't want your help.
Aurora's right. He's too put out with his mom for making him come over here to listen to anything that you have to say to him.
What am I supposed to do? Turn my back on the lad? It's his mother's last dying wish for me to help him. I don't know. He must be in very deep trouble, though.
You know, I noticed how he avoided answering your question when you'd asked him if he was involved with drugs or organized crime.
Yes, I showed the thing what kind of a trouble he's in. I've even agreed to put him back on the plane.
Daddy, he doesn't want your help.
Well, what am I supposed to do? Show no concern at all? I was his mother's last hope.
Keep him with you, Micah. Make Giovanni see that he needs a father's love more than he needs this terrible life he thinks he wants.
You know, I guess I'm lucky because despite our differences, my dad was always there for me. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that the way it sounded.
No, you've got a point there.
She says here she's really loved you and that Giovanni's her living proof.
Oh, I don't know. It was so long ago, I've forgotten. I mean, I just never knew.
Well, Doctor, maybe Giovanni has a girlfriend that his mother didn't like, or maybe he got her pregnant or something.
This is so frustrating. I mean, what am I supposed to do with a boy that I don't even know what his problem is? How can I help him?
Okay, I'm ready to go.
The jury will disregard Mr. Simmons' last statement because he was not being questioned by counsel. I realize this has been a long and difficult trial. And in the interests of justice, I will not permit any more courtroom theatrics from witness or counsel. Is that clear, Mr. Arnold?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Kaplan?
Perfectly, Your Honor.
Does the defense wish to call any other witnesses?
Your Honor, the defense rests.
The court has heard the case for the prosecution and the case for the defense. We'll reconvene tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, at which time we will hear closing arguments from both sides. Court is adjourned.
All rise!
BJ, I think Eugene might have swayed the jury's minds.
Well, it's still my word against Frank.
Well, Eugene came through for us.
Reese is right. Everything's gonna work out, honey. You'll see.
Oh, my God.
Not quite. I just work for him.
I don't believe it. This is the terrible life your mother was so upset that you'd chosen?
Well, you knew my mother. She was never very religious, and I think it had something to do with the reversion to hats.
Oh, now I understand what you meant when you said at the hospital that you're with God.
Yeah. He's always been there for me.
Aren't you too young, though, to be a priest? Or being from Italy, is that okay because you're closer to the Vatican and... Sorry, it sounded really stupid.
No, that's okay, Aurora. I mean, I know this must come as a shock to you all, and it's natural you'd have questions. Perhaps I did answer God's call earlier than some. It was after being arrested for car theft that I about to become a priest. And I was in my last year of seminary when I took a leave of absence to care for my mother. Okay, now I'm going back home to Italy, and in 3 months, I'll take my final vows and be ordained in St. Peter's by the Pope himself.
That is so exciting.
So it's not going to be for 3 months?
Yes. Why?
Well, it's obvious, isn't it? I mean, if you've got that length of time, I mean, you have to leave tonight for Italy. Why don't you stay? It'll give us an opportunity to at least try and make up for the lost time, and I, for one, would like to remedy that.
Yeah, please stay, Giovanni. I never imagined that I'd have a half-brother who's also a father.
I love it. Father Gio, the streetwise priest. You know, if you play your cards right, you might get your own talk show.
Excuse me?
You have to excuse Sawyer. His sense of humor sometimes needs a lengthy explanation. I would be willing to take the time if you are willing to stay.
Why not? Perhaps a few more days won't hurt.
You think we're going to lose, don't you?
No, honey, Julia's just being cautiously optimistic.
That's right. Prepare for the worst and expect the best.
You both did a great job, and we're going to win.
Are we?
I'm not going to lie to you, BJ. Tomorrow will be pivotal. If I can sway the jury with my closing statements, then we may regain everything that we've lost. If not, then
Your closing statement is going to be so good, it's going to blow Arnold right out of his shorts.
Of course it will.
Couldn't be in better hands, sweetie.
Thank you. But don't underestimate Arnold. His grandstanding today with Eugene was only the beginning.
Your wife is amazing.
Oh, I think so, yes.
No, I mean, it's amazing how she could miscalculate putting an admitted child molester on the witness stand.
You're out of line.
All I'm saying is that she blew it big time. I warned her not to put that cretin on the witness stand, but would she listen? It's typical. Tell them to do one thing, then they do the opposite. Then they whine about it when it blows up in their face.
Oh, thank you to keep your stereotypical opinions to yourself.
I just don't understand how Julia could think putting Simmons on the stand would help her case. So she gets him to admit that he molested Frank when he was a child. Still BJ's word against a dead man, and if he did abuse her, it's quite a motive for murder, huh?
Are you quite through?
No, but you are. Admit it, Miss Capwell. You've lost this case. Sure hope BJ's out there enjoying her last night of freedom, because once I give my masterful summation tomorrow, our prisons are going to be even more overcrowded. Jury's going to bring in a guilty verdict in time for me to take a long lunch.
You can take a long hike, Arnold.
Excuse me?
I'm sick of you denigrating my wife's legal skills, which are at least as potent as yours.
Come on, you got to admit it's going to take a miracle for her to win tomorrow.
It will take a miracle for me not to kick your pompous butt out of here. Unless, of course, you have the presence of mind to leave on your own. And I do mean now.
Hey, I'm gone.
Kick his pompous butt?
Mm-hmm. I may be the presiding judge, Julia, but I'm also your husband. I also happen to believe in miracles.
You'll see, BJ. Julia's going to come through.
Well, that's why I wanted her to represent you, because she's never going to give up.
I just wish Eugene could have been more help to us than he was.
Well, Joe, we knew that bringing him here to testify was going to be a long shot.
I'm sorry things haven't turned out the way we hoped.
Don't be. If anything, Eugene's testimony has gotten a lot of people thinking.
BJ.
I thought you would be on your way back to Florida by now.
I couldn't go without asking you a question.
What?
I know Frank hurt you, but why'd you have to kill him?
Today at 2, what would you do if you found out your husband slept with your best friend? That's what Michael did while his wife was recovering from having a baby. Also, the story of a man who broke up with his wife and started dating her best friend just 1 week later. Will they be able to forgive? Find out today at 2 on Jenny Jones.